In this video, we'll be talking about trophic pyramids. And the guiding question for this lesson is, how does energy move through an ecosystem? We talked about food webs earlier in the week, and you should have some guided notes to guide you along in this lesson, so make sure that you have those out along with the pencil. Trophic, uh, let's go back to this. Trophic, just as a reminder, means something to do with eating. Okay, and we know what a pyramid is, so let's see how the two are related. Alright, just a review of our food web here. The arrows indicate a transfer of energy, so regardless of which arrow it is, if the frog ate the grasshopper, then the energy from the grasshopper went into the frog. Where did the grasshopper get their energy? Well, that came from the berries, right, or from the plantain, which was also consumed by the rabbit and the mouse. Okay, so make sure that you understand what the arrows indicate. Now, if we look at an energy or a trophic pyramid, this is organized according to trophic level. Sometimes we say ecological role, and we have the producers, the photosynthesizing organisms at the bottom. Okay, these are the plants or the autotrophs, and above them are the primary consumers, which eat the producers. Above them are the secondary consumers, which eat the primary consumers, and so on and so forth. Now, this is a pyramid and not a column because there are decreases in energy at each level. Okay, so as we move up the trophic level, we have lower and lower amounts of energy. We're going to talk about why that's the case. So you should have a worksheet that you were given to do some math with, and this is taking the trophic pyramid and doing a little bit of simple division. Okay, so if we take a look at this energy pyramid, we have the oak tree leaves representing the producers. Okay, now their energy is coming from the sun. There's a ton of energy hitting from the sunlight that is hitting the Earth's surface, and this is taken into the oak tree leaves through photosynthesis. In fact, 25,500 kilocalories of oak tree leaves are made from this amount of sunlight. Okay, kilocalories is a measure of energy. Now, the oak tree leaves are eaten by caterpillars, and caterpillars are retain 4,000 kilocalories of energy in their bodies. Okay, the blue jays, the caterpillars end up retaining or being made into 470 kilocalories of biomass, which we'll get to, and so on and so forth. Okay, so as you note, hopefully you will note here that we started off with 3+ million kilocalories of energy, and at each trophic level this decreased by quite a bit, actually. Okay, so let's talk about why that is the case. So energy is stored in living organisms as biomass. Take a look at that bold word there. Biomass is the leafy, the squishy, the feathery, the meaty, the chewy stuff that can be eaten. Again, we're talking about trophic levels and how energy is being transferred through eating. If you can't eat it, then the energy cannot be transferred into your body. Okay, so we are very interested in what is retained as biomass. Okay, so sunlight energy is made into oak leaf biomass through photosynthesis. Oak leaf biomass is consumed by caterpillars, and those caterpillars make biomass. This process is called assimilation, as you know. Caterpillar biomass is eaten by the blue jays, and blue jays create biomass, also assimilation. And the blue jays are eaten by the hawks. So the blue jay biomass, the energy contained in that biomass, is transferred to the hawks, who make their own biomass through assimilation. Everything is connected by eating, by trophic level. Okay, so here's some biomass, right? This is maybe several grams of biomass, a little bit more, a little bit less. The hawk would probably have the most biomass. Each of us has a certain amount of biomass. Luckily, we don't have any predators above us trying to eat our biomass, but we'd all have a certain amount of weight, right? So biomass. So energy is stored in living organisms as biomass. Oh, okay. I was going to say we already did this slide. The sunlight energy is made into oak leaf biomass, and we started off with this many kilocalories, and the oak leaf biomass retained this many. Okay, this is the energy retained as biomass in oak leaves. So when the caterpillars have access to the oak leaves, they have 25,500 kilocalories to chew on. Okay, their biomass ends up retaining 4,000 kilocalories of energy. They make 4,000 kilocalories worth of biomass. They make 4,000 kilocalories worth of caterpillar biomass. Okay, and they chew and they chew. They eat a ton of oak leaves and they make caterpillars. Okay, so what happened between all of these oak leaves and the caterpillars? How come all of this sunlight energy was absorbed by the oak leaves, but we only retained this much? Okay, so this is what happened. All right, all cellular processes require energy. When we breathe, when we move and eat and sleep, keep our heart beating, when we generate heat or thermal energy, when we reproduce and when we nourish our young, okay, when animals do this, when plants do this, they're not necessarily nourishing their young, but they are performing cellular processes. Okay, in all of this, not all of the energy that we assimilate becomes biomass. And this is actually a really good thing because we probably ate close to 5 pounds of food today, and I really hope that all 5 pounds didn't get retained as my biomass, right? So somewhere along the way, I'm using those kilocalories of energy that I took in through assimilation to maintain cellular processes like breathing, moving, eating, sleeping, and keeping my heart beating. Okay, so the thing that we need you to remember here is that there's actually a 10% rule, and that in this context is the rule that says that only 10% of the energy contained in one trophic level, so let's say at the oak leaf level, is actually passed along to the next. Okay. Only 10% of the energy contained in one trophic level is actually passed along to the next. So if we take in, say, 100 grams of glucose, only 10 grams of that might be made into biomass. This is a bad example of this, but here's a cellular process that happens in our bodies, right? We use glucose in our cells. We have to take glucose into our cells, and that gets burned. Anytime you add oxygen to something, that is oxidation, that's called burning, okay? When we exhale carbon dioxide and water vapor, this process, known as cellular respiration, generates ATP, okay, adenosine triphosphate. This is a form of energy that all of our cells can use. This is an expensive process. It does require glucose, but a lot of that is used as a fuel. It does not, for the most part, does not become our biomass. Okay, so if we look at our energy pyramid again, we see that at the bottom we have the producers and we have the energy that's being transferred up to the bunnies. But we also see that there is energy being lost. Okay, through the cellular processes. The plants have to go through cellular respiration. They have to do photosynthesis. They have to generate thermal energy. Yes, they have to stay warm in the winter or cool in the summer. They have to go through lots of different things because they're living organisms. Same thing at the primary consumer level. The bunnies have to stay warm. They have to feed their young. They have to make their young, and energy is lost, right? It is released. It is not made into biomass, okay? What the snakes have access to is only 10% of what the bunnies had access to down here. Okay, so if this was 100 kilocalories of biomass, the bunnies only have 10 kilocalories of biomass. Okay, the snakes also have to perform cellular processes, so does the hawk. All of these living organisms end up using roughly 90% of their energy that they take in through eating on things like breathing and moving and generating heat. Okay? So if we were to actually map this out, it would look more like this. Okay? It's not a pretty pyramid like this. Here are the primary producers. This is 1,000. 1/10 of that, so 10%. This is how much is made into, here, let's say this is the plants. These are the plants. This much energy is retained as biomass. Okay? 10% of that is made into primary consumer biomass. 10% of that is made into secondary consumer biomass. 10% of this is made into apex predator biomass. Okay, so this is why, even though we have apex predators that tend to be bigger in size, we have far fewer of these in an ecosystem. Okay, we don't have as many hawks as we do bunnies, right? Because there's only so much energy for them to obtain from the secondary consumers. Okay, so what would happen to the rest of the pyramid if the primary producers are eliminated? What would happen to these guys if the primary producers were gone? We've talked about deforestation and paving over a prairie. The primary consumers would not have the energy to tap into. They wouldn't be able to eat, and therefore these guys would be out, these guys would be out. Okay, the whole ecosystem would essentially collapse. Okay, so as you move into your worksheet, you're going to do some simple math. Okay, we know that the original amount of energy is a little over 3 million, and 25,500 is made into oak leaf biomass, 4,000 is made into caterpillar biomass, so on and so forth. Okay, if the question is what percentage of the energy from the oak tree leaves is made into caterpillar biomass, you're going to do a simple division equation. Okay, we know that 4,000 is made into caterpillar biomass of the 25,500. Okay, so when you divide this by this and we multiply by 100, that gives us a percentage. Okay, in this case it'll be 15.7%. We want you to calculate the transfer of energy at the different stages here in this trophic pyramid.